Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the Fulham preview. Joining me are my two favourite co-hosts, Alex Baggers.
Interesting.
Who's braved the rain this morning, haven't you?
It was a tough day today.
Tough day. Hey, he was out there in the rain, bringing you the paper talk like the little soldier he is. And also looking very fetching, if I may say so.
Yeah.
Joe Smith.
Cheers. I'm only allowed to wear this when we're top of the league, by the way. You know I didn't wear any leopard print upper when we were like 17th or whatever it was at the start of the season. Top of the league. As soon as City overtake us, back in the wardrobe.
Well, there's two reasons to be gutted if
Yeah.
City overtake us, because I need to see this leopard skin number
Look
more
at the
often
state of it.
in my life.
Look at the state of you, mate. If
Right,
anything-
let's
know.
not. Whoa, this isn't McCullough and Housen.
If
Let's
it
not
weren't for- if it
bicker.
weren't for social distancing, you'd already be on the floor, pal. That's all
Wow,
I'll say. Carry
fighting
on, Jay.
talk. This is like the biggest threatening fight I've ever been involved in. Someone in a leopard
Same.
skin,
Not leopard skin.
leopard print outfit threatening someone else. Right. Anyway, let's move on. You mentioned there we're top of the league. Manchester United are sitting on the top of the league. Of course, that mob from down the road can go above us. They play. Is it 2 hours before us?
They do.
So if they win, they'll go top. But then we could go back to the top if we beat Fulham. We're having a bit of a run, aren't we, lads? Bit of an
What is it,
unbeaten run.
12 games unbeaten, I think, in the league. The longest, I believe, of any team in the top 5 leagues in Europe this currently.
Yes.
I think we've got a graphic for that.
Which is quite amazing. The last away loss was versus Liverpool. That's a different graphic. But our current unbeaten form is home and away in the league.
Yeah.
And of course, it's been a year now since we last lost away in the league.
Yeah, today.
Which is bizarre, really, because when you see teams, and you see it more commonly, where they have incredible home form, for example, Liverpool, currently I think it's 68 games unbeaten at home. We've seen Chelsea do it in the past. We've seen United, I think, were unbeaten at home in Europe for the first sort of 30 years of playing in European competition. You see these home form runs exist, but it's very rare you see an away form run of unbeaten in 12 months. I know that's not the longest of the most amount of games, because obviously 4 months of that was cut out. But is it coincidence, this away form run, do you think? Or is it somehow we've managed to cultivate an atmosphere or a mentality in the dressing room that, despite the fact that every away game is at a different ground, there's still a common factor that makes us not lose those games? Because it is unusual to see an away form run like this, isn't it?
It is. I think you have to take into account the fans aren't there. I'm not disparaging our away run. It's fantastic. And obviously, we've performed in front of the fans as well. But I think that is a factor. I think a lot of clubs or teams rely on their home support when they're playing Manchester United.
Yeah.
Because it's, Manchester United usually are the better team. 9 times out of 10, United will be the better team. It's only maybe when you get up against the Scousers sometimes, and City maybe, where you might say, okay, it's level, or they've got a slight edge. So home fans are a big part, aren't they, for some of these so-called smaller clubs, or lesser clubs, so to say, and they haven't got that. But it's not all down to that, is it, Baggers? Because, it's a level playing field. Everyone's got no fans, unless you've got 2,000 or whatever in some cases. But United have just been on this fantastic run.
It is, and I think there is a little bit down to the fact that United like to play against teams that come out at them and don't kind of sit back, and these teams that, if they came to Old Trafford, are going to do that. And I think we struggled a lot of last season, particularly in teams that sat back at Old Trafford and kind of boxed us in. Whereas at home, even your Burnleys and teams like that want to get out. They want to score a goal. It's not as much now without any fans, but especially towards the tail end of last season, these teams were coming out and trying to score goals against us, which kind of opens up, and we've done well. We've also, the defence has improved a lot, and I think the fact that what we've done a lot in those games is we've, especially towards the end of last season, just kept clean sheets and get 1 or 2-0 wins, which is massive, especially away from home. And then this season, the resilience of, I think it was the first 5 games away from home, going 1-0 down and still coming back and winning those games has been fantastic. And that doesn't matter whether there's no fans there, there's 1,000 fans there, 2,000 fans there, or whatever kind of team you're playing against. That's been very impressive for Manchester United so far.
The one thing we can't ignore is that run coming to an end coincides almost to the week of a certain Portuguese individual arriving at the club. Mr. Bruno Fernandes. Ollie was talking about him in his presser, singing lots of praises for him, as you'd expect. Bizarrely coming for a little bit of criticism over the last... I know, I feel your pain here. Not just from the usual Muppets in the media, but even some United fans questioning his big game temperament or whatever. And then you've had opposition fans who were trying to have a dig at him and trying to sort of say, stat padding, all this other drivel. I'll start with you, Joe. Bruno, can you sort of... You can't overstate his influence, can you? I mean, it is ridiculous what he's done to this team.
It's ridiculous what he's done to this team. It's ridiculous the fact that he's taken us from when he arrived, I think we were the 5th or 6th best team in England.
Yeah.
And then since he's been here, we've been the best team in England. That's an improvement I've never seen from a single player at any club in my whole life. So to talk about, we always say this as well, there's people who like to look smarter than everyone. And maybe sometimes we're guilty of that ourselves, but especially on social media, there is no shortage of people who want to say, I've noticed the thing that no one else has noticed. I know that if you'd have started this play, you'd have won. If you'd have not played this false 9, if we'd have employed this tactic, we'd have won that game. And everyone else is thick and I'm really smart.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a better example than the people who are currently saying Bruno Fernandes is A, not very good, or B, doesn't show up in the big games. It's like, how can you even possibly have a go at Bruno Fernandes? You can maybe say he's wasteful and you think that whatever. What he's done to Manchester United since he's arrived is unprecedented. Yeah. If you want to criticise a Man United player, turn the angle slightly and focus on someone else, because you aren't going to get any sympathy from most United fans or most football fans when you're criticising Bruno Fernandes. I honestly can't believe it. And looking at the stats of who the top 6 are for a start is, what are you even on about by the top 6? The top 6 teams in the league, Bruno Fernandes has got loads of goals and assists again. I think he's got 1 a game. In 8 games, he's got 8 goals or assists. What are you on about?
The top 6 thing is sort of like changing the narrative to suit, or changing the evidence to suit your narrative or whatever, because they're saying the top 6, well, you look at the top 6 now, oh no, not that top 6.
No, not
oh,
the
right,
top
the top
6.
6 from last season then, the teams that finished, no, not that top 6, the big 6. So what, like, the teams that have finished in the top 6?
Yeah, like Nottingham Forest, who have won 2 European
Everton,
Cups.
who have not only finished, in the top 6 now, but have won the 3rd most amount of trophies. No, not them.
No.
Let's find a team that we can somehow squeeze into this narrative that he hasn't scored against recently. It's ridiculous. I mean, Baggers, what do you make of it? Or what do you make of the fact that Ollie's almost come out and had to defend him?
It's
not just
actually
praise him.
unbelievable.
Almost had to say.
I can't even believe it.
Yeah, he's come out in his presser and defended arguably the best player on the planet.
Yeah, and I think that the moments we've had this season where you say about that top 6, the Leicester game, he had a fantastic game, getting a goal and assist in that game, a very important game. We obviously didn't go on to win it, but played very well. The Everton game as well, where that was up against Ollie's job. And if you're going to class another team like you mentioned there, Everton should be in the top 6 because, well, they're 4th. Yeah. And they've beaten a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So,
because they're in the top 6.
Because they're in the top 6.
That'll do it.
So only there was a way of working out how you could sort of place these teams. Maybe
we should have like a rank.
A ranking system where when you win a game, you get some points.
Yeah.
When you draw, you get 1.
Yeah.
And then we can rank them.
And then when you win, you get 2.
Yeah.
For instance. And then in 70 years, we'll change it to 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
So the Everton game played very well.
Yeah.
And then you're going back to last season as well, like the City game that he came in and got the assist for Martial's first goal and was unbelievable. You look at the Tottenham game, he scored goals against them. Yes, penalties, but penalties in big games are quite tough to score. Ask Kevin De Bruyne, he's missed a couple.
Exactly.
So there's not just that. And then he's done it all the way through. He's played very well in big games. The problem has been this season is United have been a little bit cagey in the bigger games. We've gone for let's not lose rather than win. And also, teams are man-marking and defending against Bruno Fernandes because he's the best player in the league. And if you don't do that, we used to do it against Hazard for Chelsea, and it worked a lot of time. Doesn't mean that Hazard isn't a very good player. It just means that you may have it that day where you can mark that person out of the game or mark them to such an extent that they can't score an assist. The thing is, the United as a whole haven't played that well against the top 6. We've not scored that many goals. That needs to improve in general, but it's not Bruno Fernandes' fault.
And also, you just don't score as many goals against the better teams because that's why they're the better teams. They've got better defences. They're harder to beat.
Yeah.
The fact that he's only just got 1 goal or assist in every single game against the top teams, that's not good enough.
No.
Just unless you change who the top 6 teams are based, if the team in 12th is all of a sudden a top 6 team.
That's actually what they're doing. That's what they've been doing. Putting Arsenal in there.
He's only ever played against Liverpool once, and it was away from home, again, in the hardest ground in the country to win at. Like, what did you expect him to get 3 goals and assists? Like, I just can't understand it. The expectation is so high that you now criticise him for not winning us every single game we play.
Right. I just quickly what Ollie said about it. He said quite a lot, but I'll just briefly, one thing that sort of summed it up for me. He said he's always on the verge of creating something. When he loses the ball, and that's what he's been told to do, I want him to play the passes he sees. So people are like even trying to pull out stats about when he gives the ball away, but he's trying to create. If you want someone who's going to play it safe, then we can, bring back Andreas Pereira.
Or get Louis van Gaal back.
Yeah.
Remember
if you want
that?
someone who's going to...
The pass completion, my God, it was good to watch.
Or if you want
someone
someone who's going to get you to top of the league, then maybe Bruno Fernandes is your man. Another player who's not been spoken about as much, but I think I've highlighted him today because I think he deserves speaking about in a positive way, is Harry Maguire, because we've had lots of talk about Victor Lindelof, lots of talk about Eric Bailly. Early on in the season, Harry Maguire was getting absolute pelters. Some of them deserved, some of them completely undeserved. But I actually think lately he's been solid. And I think he's been doing the job he's been paid to do and brought in to do for Manchester United. Feel free to disagree with me. I'll start with you, Baggers.
No, I completely agree. He's been playing very, very well. I think that one of the things that's been very good in this run is we have been a little bit tighter at the back. We've not conceded loads of goals. I think in these last 4 games, Ollie's mentioned it today, and people have mentioned it, the front 4, even maybe Bruno, if you're really trying to clutch at straws, haven't quite been firing and scoring loads of goals. But the best thing is we've not been conceding many goals. We've been consistent in that aspect, which means that you can win games 1-0. The Burnley game was a prime example to that. It was always going to be a tough game. But that, in years gone past, we'd have conceded first.
Wolves as well.
Point, yeah. We'd have conceded a goal, and then you go in, right, we've now got to score 2, or we're clean. Whereas now, we're getting clean sheets. Harry Maguire's performing well. Eric Bailly's come in and done well. Lindelof this weekend. And we were always on the verge of nicking a game. And that's what you need to do to win the league. You can't go out and play 38 flawless games. Liverpool certainly didn't do it last year. City certainly didn't do it the year before. You have to go through that spell where you win 10 games 1-0. And that's where you're going to be able to challenge for the title. And that's what they've done the last few weeks, is that maybe we've not scored many goals, but we've stayed in games, and then the quality we've got with Rashford, with Bruno, with Pogba, have created those one moment now and again that have broken a team down, and we've got to win. Rather than that one moment meaning that we get a 1-1 draw at Turf Moor and the world's ending. It's a massive difference.
Or the Liverpool game the other night, last season that was 2-0 that game, because we struggled to create chances, but defensively we weren't particularly good. And now we've improved defensively. I know it's a lot of the same players in the defence, but the fact that we could defend, limit their chances to essentially none in terms of big chances. Liverpool hardly created anything. The fact that we struggled to score at the other end, it doesn't matter. We've still got a point, which, it does matter to a certain extent, but instead of it being a loss, it's a draw. And instead of, like you said, the Wolves games being draws, they're wins, or the Burnley game, or, those sorts of games. So, yeah, I think he's been really good. I would say probably, certainly since Christmas and maybe even the start of December, I think he's really turned it around. And I know people will have a go at Lindelof or Bailly, or there's still people saying Lindelof and Bailly is the best partnership and all this sort of thing. You've got to give him a little bit of credit as well for he's the ever-present mainstay in that defence. Wan-Bissaka as well to a large extent, but he's sort of on the other side because Maguire tends to play on the left. He plays with Bailly sometimes, he plays with Maguire sometimes, he plays with Teller sometimes, he plays with Shaw sometimes. He plays in behind Matic and Pogba, which is completely different to Fred and McTominay, or completely different to Van der Beek and Fred and McTominay. Not that he shouldn't be versatile and he shouldn't be able to play with many players, because that's what good players can do, but he can do that, and it's not like he's only good when he's got his mates around him. He has to be good every single week because he plays every single week, and I think he has been really good recently.
I think he suffers sometimes, Harry Maguire. He's not like... he's a type of defender. He reminds me a little bit, I'm not saying he's the same, a little bit of like Gary Pallister almost, the way he reads the game. You very rarely see Gary Pallister flying in last ditch. Yeah. He can read the game quite well, Harry Maguire, and yet people sometimes, when they see a John Terry type throwing his face in front of the ball, they go, "Oh, look how amazing he is."
That's all defending is.
Yeah, passion, and because he got caught out and made up for it, how brilliant he is. But Harry Maguire reads the game very well. He's almost a boring defender in that sense, in that he's not having to make those last ditch
considering
challenges.
his biggest flaw is supposedly his speed. How many times can you think of a player running past him?
No.
Ever. I can think of the one on the touchline where he knocked it through his legs, put it in. I can think of the Bergwijn one against Tottenham, and they were both last season.
And they were in a 2-week period. He had a bit of a stinker
when we came back from lockdown. But this season, you struggle to think of it. He doesn't get caught out for pace particularly often, like you said, because he reads the game so well.
He does. From one extreme to the other,
yes.
There's been question marks about our attack, who should be our number 9 in terms of who should be leading the line. The obvious choices are between Edinson, Cavani and Anthony Martial. Cavani's come in. He's been pretty productive. Martial's going through a bit of a barren spell this season in the Premier League especially. I know he scored not so long ago against Villa, but it's not been a great time for him. Just see the stats there. What do you make of this? Do you think it is one or the other of those two up front? Or do you think that maybe we need to rotate a little bit? Do you think they can play together? Joe, I'll start with you. What do you make of this sort of Cavani and Martial situation?
It's a worry for sure, because if you want to be winning the big trophies, when I would consider that FA Cup, Premier League, Champions League, obviously we can't win the Champions League this season, but now we've got the Europa League and I think we should try and win that. If you want to be winning these trophies, you need goal scorers. It's very rare that a team wins the league without a striker or an attacker that gets you at least 25 goals a season.
Yeah.
And obviously we were close to that last year. We had 3 players in and around the 20 mark. I know Martial was the top scorer of all of them. But this year we've got Rashford on 14, Bruno on 15, which is great. But then our actual sort of strikers, Cavani and Martial, there, look, in the league, they've got 5 between them. And that's just not good enough. And you can talk about Martial's hold-up play. You can talk about Cavani being suspended for this, Martial being suspended for that. But, you know, depending on how you look at the Cavani situation, when a player's suspended, generally it's their fault. You don't rule out those games as bad luck because you slapped someone in the face. Like, you have to factor that into.
Except Eric, when he got suspended, that wasn't his fault.
No, that wasn't his fault.
If you're going to say those stupid things at Selhurst Park, then what other choice did Eric have to do than climb into the crowd and batter you?
Exactly.
But
yeah, we can't have. However you want to look at it, however much you like Martial, however much you like Cavani, we just need a striker to turn up and get us 20 goals this season, because otherwise we aren't going to win the league.
No.
And, you know, maybe we're not ready to win the league, and maybe that's why. But at some point, you have to be ruthless, and you have to think. At the moment, what we're doing is to accommodate Martial's poor form, we're putting Cavani up front, and then to do that, we're putting Martial on the left, and then to do that, we're pushing Rashford off the left where he is at his best, regardless of what people say. We're putting him on the right. So now we've got 2 players out of position just because Martial's not scoring.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we should drop Martial or, again, I think leave that up to coaches who are much better trained, who have got much better qualifications than I have in terms of personnel and tactics. But to me, it seems as though we're doing a lot to accommodate for the fact that Martial's not getting any goals. And I do worry that, you know, are we pushing 2 players out of position for the sake of one person who's misfiring? I don't know what the solution to that is, but I just worry that it may hinder us in terms of getting those big trophies.
The reason, by the way, it's Martial and Cavani is because Rashford's not an out-and-out striker.
No, they're our number 9s.
They're our number 9. So before anyone's going, why have you not included Marcus Rashford, or you never criticise him? We do criticise him, but for this scenario, he's not really involved because I don't see...
he's got 14 goals this season, so there's another stat for you.
Well, there's a good stat. That doesn't really add up to what we're looking at here. And also, the choice is as your number 9.
Yep.
I mean, maybe you could argue Mason Greenwood long-term, but I don't see him throwing his hat into the ring, for this one. How do you see it, Baggers? Is it one of the other up top for those, or do you think they can play together as a 2? I mean, I know we'll get to predicted 11s later, but I'm thinking more as the season progresses.
I think they can play together. I think, like Joe's mentioned there, you're moving Marcus out of the position to do it, which I don't think is the right thing to be doing.
I agree with that, by the way.
But I think that this all kind of points down to the fact that we were missing that one more sign in the summer, that someone on the right-hand side, because what that would allow to do is you could have played Cavani through the middle, Marcus in his normal position, and another. And even if it was a younger player, even if it was someone that's not quite the star name of Jadon Sancho that we were all linked with, it could have been somebody else that plays on that right-hand side that can fill a hole, that can give us an extra option, which means that you can rotate a little bit. Martial isn't the pressure on to do it. And that is the worry. There's a lot of pressure now on Martial. He has to get back to scoring form. There's a lot of pressure on Cavani. But like Joe said, and Joe said, I don't think there is a team. There's not been a team that's won the Premier League without a goal scorer that's got, I think, 17 goals, and I think that was Henry got 17 goals. I think in the treble season.
I mean, historically. I mean, I remember when I think Hughes and Eric got like 16 each, or whatever, 15 each. But that's going back a long time.
But we had there was a goal scorer in Mark Hughes.
We
knew there was going to be
like
goals
Kanchelski's got 9 and Giggs got 12, and it was more. But when you've got, like Joe was saying, your top 2 have got whatever it is, 20 odd between them, and then there's a massive drop.
Yeah, they've got 15 and 14, and then the next highest, I think, in all competitions is 5, which is Martial. So
and I think the other worry a little bit is Mason Greenwood as well. I think that towards the end of last season, Mason was chipping in with, well, what did he end up getting? 17 in all competitions, I think 12 in the league or something like that. If he was there doing those kind of numbers and drift being there or thereabouts, you've not quite got the pressure on Martial. You've got someone else to pick up the slack. But at the minute, it's on Marcus Rashford to do what he isn't really... That's never going to be his thing, I don't think, is being a 40 goals a year striker.
And it's not fair as well, because I think Rashford's going through a tough time at the minute in terms of his performances. I think he's struggling. He's still chipping in with goals, as we keep saying, but it's like we are now putting the pressure on him of... It's become Rashford and Bruno. Yep. You have to score all the goals for us. You have to win the games for us. because our actual strikers aren't scoring
Have
any
you
goals.
seen-
That doesn't seem fair. It's putting too much pressure on them.
I've seen some on social media. I know social media can be a bit, odd at times, but it was like someone had got a mouse or a graphic and put it from Marcus's foot to the back of the net, like round Alisson and over him from like 30 yards, and said like, why didn't he just do this?
Yeah.
But the way they were joking, it was like, what are you on about? It's not like FIFA.
It's not an iPhone game.
Yeah.
Where you just draw the line and the ball goes on it.
Just ping it in from 30 yards out Anfield. What's the matter with you? You're rubbish. We'll get on to our predicted 11s. Baggers, I'll start with you. Who do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to pick in his team against Fulham?
So I'm going for, I've got David De Gea in goal. Again, that back five. I've got Eric Bailly back into the team. I think that
Controversial.
Fulham, I've watched Fulham against Chelsea. They look relatively quick on the break, and I've got a few players. And I think that Eric Bailly being in there kind of negates that a little bit. I think you've seen what he's done against, I think his physical presence and all that. We're going to be a lot higher up the pitch than we were against Liverpool, which I don't think suits Lindelof as well. And I think you have to have Eric Bailly in there. I've gone back to the midfield three of Matic, Bruno and Pogba, which was up against Burnley last week, which I liked. And also, I've given Marcus Rashford a break this week. I think we mentioned it. I think that I wanted to give Bruno a break as well, but then Ollie in his press conference went, no, he's playing every minute.
I was the same with you.
He's going to play every minute of every game forever.
Yeah.
So Bruno's back in there. I would have put Van der Beek in there, but I think Bruno's going to start. I've rested Marcus Rashford, Martial, Cavani, and Mason Greenwood. I'd like to see maybe if that doesn't change, if that changes, maybe Marcus comes in ahead of Martial. I think one of them needs a break for this game. We've got a lot of fixtures coming up, and I think that playing Liverpool on Sunday, the problem with playing Liverpool in the fourth round of the FA Cup is that if we went out to a normal team with rested players, you'd be like, it's fine.
A normal team.
A normal team.
To an abnormal team or a subnormal team.
We just can't lose to Liverpool ever. And he's going to need to play a very, very strong team. And I think that's where you'll need maybe Rashford to start the weekend or maybe Martial to start the weekend. You can't have a front three of Lingard, Mata and Greenwood this weekend against the Scousers, I'm afraid. So rested a little bit, but I think there's enough there to beat Fulham.
No, it is a strong team. I like it. Joe, who have you gone for, mate?
It's quite a similar team, to be honest. I've gone De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, by Maguire. I've gone for Telles instead of Shaw, just because we've got Telles as a good player. I think we'll need Shaw for Liverpool, like we saw. I think we'll see probably as close to the same team against Liverpool as we saw last time, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I've gone with Telles again. I think he offers a bit more going forward than Luke Shaw. Despite Luke Shaw's improvements going forward in recent weeks, I think Telles is just more naturally suited to that. I've gone with Matic and Pogba, same as you. And then I have given a rest to both Rashford and Fernandes. I know Solskjaer said about him saying that he's, he wants to play all the time and that he'll tell you he's not tired. But this is what I think we should, if I was picking, this is what I would pick. Because I do think he needs a rest. And maybe even just a little bit of, just calm down a little bit.
So you've gone against the predicted 11.
Yeah,
and you've done your own.
Mine's
what
more
you
of
want to see rather
what
than
I would like rather than what I think
you
will
can do
happen.
that,
Because if we're going what I think will happen, I think Bruno will start. But I'd like to see Van der Beek get a game. I like Matic and Pogba together. And similarly to you, Rashford just needs a rest, whichever way you want to look at it. I've got Martial on the left, Cavani at front, and then Greenwood, who he's not really started many games at all this season. But I think this is a strong enough side with him in, and hopefully this sort of game where I know Fulham have been a bit better recently, but they're still one of the least points collecting teams in the league. How do you want to word it? Well, I don't want to say worst teams because they don't feel very nice.
You can say
but
that.
Yeah, they're struggling a bit.
Yeah.
And I know they got the draw the other night, was it, against Tottenham, but generally speaking, they're not picking up many points, so I think Greenwood could be perfect against that.
Very good, very good. Both very strong seasons. I've gone with a predicted 11, by the way. This is what I think it will be. I think it's the same back five as you, Baggers. I think it might be the same back six, to be honest with you. Gone with David De Gea, Maguire, Bailly. I think Bailly needs to play at least once a week. Keep him going. I don't think he should be resting him for much longer than that because I just think it's problematic. I think he's someone who needs to play not every 3 days, but at least once a week if he can.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm putting him back in. Because I'm with you, I thought Victor Lindelof played very well against the Scousers, but for that reason, I'm bringing Eric Bailly in, like I just mentioned. Suan Zabi and Luke Shaw on the fullback position. Nemanja Matic, I think Matic against Fulham can do the holding midfield job on his own. I don't think he needs a Fred McTominay or anyone else alongside him. Then I've gone with almost like a front five. I think we just go for it. Fulham, as you politely said, Joe, are the least points gathering team or one of the least points gathering teams in the league. which is a polite way of saying they're not very good.
A bit shit.
Yeah, the shit. You Fulham lot, shit, mate. So I've gone.
Oh, no.
I know that's going to get clipped up and rammed down my throat.
It is when we lose, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've gone with the front five.
And then we have to hear another fucking Street song sang by Scott
What?
Parker on social media.
Oh,
His
God.
post-match press conference saying how good Bruno was, even though we lost. Set to the background of something from the Streets back catalogue. That'll be fun. Cheers.
Not
That
seen
sounds
it.
like the Seventh Circle of Hell. No, I'm glad I've not seen it. But I'm going to go and Google it in a minute. Marcus on the left, that's just gone there, but there we go. Marcus on the left, Bruno in the middle,
Yeah.
Pogba on the right. Those three can interchange.
Do
But
what they want, then.
I like to see Marcus on the left. And I've gone with Martial and Cavani. I think Martial, I keep saying this, and I'll keep saying it, he needs goals. Fulham, for fuck's sake. That should be a game where you're going to get some goals, son. Get some goals, and let's just, end this nonsense where whenever I take the piss out of Aubameyang, I get gooners going, oh yes, Jack has only scored 2 goals this season. Just for that reason, that helped me out.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I've gone for. But I think any of those 3 teams, I wouldn't personally be angry if I saw that or upset or like, oh my God, why has he not played?
No,
such
you're
and
going to see.
such
If Van
about
de
it?
Beek doesn't start, you'll see that.
Which I don't get because we've got a squad, as Ollie has mentioned. We are obviously playing Fulham. Joe, you mentioned that they're not that great. I mean, they've got 1 or 2 good players. Well, they've got several good players, but they've got 1 or 2 ones that you sort of keep your eye out. Is there anyone that's caught your eye? I mean, I don't know, I can't say his name. Decovoda Reed. Is that how you say it?
Reed.
Yes.
Reed. I mean, he's doing okay.
He's similar stats to Martial, who we've just slagged off, so we say he's doing okay. They've got some good players. They've not really got anyone particularly stand out. What I think was stand out in recent weeks over their start of the season, where they just looked like they didn't know what they were doing.
No,
honestly,
they
they
looked
came
awful
up
at
and
the
looked
beginning,
like, oh my God, this is 10 levels higher than the Championship. I watched most of the Tottenham game, where it was 1-1, wasn't it, the other night? And they looked really good in that game. They tried the pressure and the aggression, not aggression in terms of fighting and elbowing, but just like the speed and the decision making and the quickness that they just did everything with was really impressive, and sort of, I would say it's a sign of a team that is getting better and improving. So I think we're playing them at probably as difficult a time as we could have done in recent, or certainly this season. But yeah, I think it's more of a team effort than looking at a striker that gets a goal every 4 games.
What do you reckon, Baggers? I mean, we were talking before when there's like Lookman, I think they've got who's again. I remember when he came on again. Was it against City when he made his debut for Everton when he beat him 4-0? And it was like, oh my God, who is this kid? And I think he went abroad for a bit. He got to Leipzig and he's had a sort of okay career. But again, I don't want to be horrible, but I don't look at these players and go, oh my God.
It's going to be a team
amazing.
effort if they beat us, isn't it?
I
It's
mean,
not going to be some star performance.
I didn't watch the Tottenham game like you. I watched the Chelsea game.
They
and
did
they
all right
looked,
against Chelsea,
They
didn't
looked sharp. They looked good. I think that they got
the final score 1-0.
1-0. They held on for Chelsea, but I think that they've got a couple of suspensions, and because the lad got sent off in the first half for flying into a tackle, the left wing back who was
they were just playing really well as well in that game, weren't they?
Yeah, and
just coming into it, and then he's like, right, fuck this.
Yeah,
straight over the ball, red card. What are you doing? You look really full. I honestly think Fulham would have got a point because they were making more chances. Sorry to interrupt you, but I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Flew into that
just before half time as well. Like,
he gets sent off. I think they had another player get suspended in midfield as well. And I think that the one thing with Fulham is that you pointed out there, they've not got a goal scorer, and that's a couple of things with the teams coming up this season. I think there's a massive thing with all these teams. All the teams from probably 8th down look all right, but if they don't have someone scoring goals, there's a problem. Even look at where Wolves have gone. Wolves are a very good football team, but without Jimenez scoring any goals, and obviously they lost Jota, they're dropping down to 14th or something now.
I mean, Leeds are doing a similar thing. Arsenal did a similar thing at the start of the season.
If you don't have, they're okay teams and they can play okay football and look good at times, but if you don't have someone scoring goals, you can easily drop down the table because I think Fulham sorted out defensive issues. They've not really conceded that many goals.
Well, you can see the stats there. They don't ship a lot of goals.
They don't ship a lot, but they don't score a
The
lot.
goals there have come against QPR, 2 of them, so that says it all.
They haven't conceded 2 or more goals since the 5th of December against City.
So they kind of sorted
defensively, we're talking about a great chance for Martial and that to get goals. We're going to have to be good.
The one good thing for us this year is that I mentioned before, last season the bottom teams caused us problems and we lost a few games, whereas this season we haven't looked great against the bottom teams, but we've beat everybody kind of thing so far. We've beat all the teams you should win. we've beat them so far. It's not been pretty in a lot of those games, but we have gone on to win every single game against the bottom. The other
Except
bottom
Palace.
6, they're 12th.
They're good.
They're
Done his
Sorry,
research.
I didn't
I've done my
realise.
research.
He's
Our
looked
last
at
5
that table
teams,
and he's made
we've
a
beat them
decision.
all so far, and we've played a lot of them away so far. We've got those results, and against Fulham, hoping to have the same.
I agree. Go on then, give us your score predictions.
I think we will struggle to get a lot of goals. I don't think it's going to be like 4-0, well done lads. I think I'm going to go 2-0. I fancy us not to concede because, as we said, they also struggled to score.
Right.
But I just don't think we're going to batter him. But I think it'll be more comfortable than we've seen against Villa and Wolves and Burnley. So yeah, 2-0 United.
How could someone dressing like that be so conservative?
2-0, that's a good result.
I disagree
What do you want me
completely.
to say, 40-0?
Yeah.
All right, 40-0 then.
Right, thank you. Go on.
I was going to go 2-0 as well, but if
two
anything,
copying in.
I'm going to go the other way and maybe go
2-0 Fulham?
2-1.
1-0 or 2-1 United.
2-1 United. Pathetic.
Go on,
I'm going to go 4-0 United.
Good.
Bruno
That's
to
what we
get
want.
all
Love
4
it.
goals.
No, Bruno to get 4.
None of them to be a penalty.
And Martial to get 4, but still only 4-0. Bruno 4 assists, Martial 4 goals. That's what we want.
We'll all be happy with that.
Yes.
To be honest with you. Right. You know where to check Alex Baggers out. He's all over social media. You know where to check Joe out as well. Me and him will be back on later on with our Transfers Live show. So make sure you check that out. If you're not subscribing, make sure you are subscribing and hitting the like and share button as well. And if you've not checked out the members section, please do. We've just done a giveaway where we gave away a PlayStation 5. There's other prizes up for grabs, and also we're putting extra content on there. We had an interview recently with Laurie Whitwell and some other
Discount
extras.
merch, members only Facebook group, all sorts of stuff
All
going on
stuff
for
on
the
there.
members. Yes.
And it goes without saying on the main channel, if you will, we'll have all the pre-match build-up. We'll have the watch-along. You've got Joe, you've got Andy Tate, you've got Stephen Howson, you've got Anna McCullough, and all the post-match reaction as well. So make sure you're checking that out. Thanks for watching.